Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand. It is Thursday morning and it is your morning Manchester United news. Welcome everybody to the show. Really exciting show. We've actually got an exclusive scoop on today's show, so stay tuned for that. Where did the Alan Brazil leaks come from, you may ask? Well, we've been doing our research and we're pretty sure that we know where they are coming from, and we will bring that to you here. It's not quite where you'd expect. It was made out to be a player. That's not the direction that we're going in, but we will let you know, and there's actually a bit of a backstory to it, so stay tuned for that. Also, Ivan Toney, Eric Ten Hag really likes the look of Ivan Toney, and they could be considered to launch a £60 million bid for Ivan Toney, who is looking to leave Brentford. Also, if you've not seen already, it's international break, so Harry Maguire has been speaking like he usually tends to do, and to be fair to Maguire, he's played pretty well recently. But why does he have to come out every international break and give it, I'm this, I'm that? There's no coincidence that we're playing very well when I'm in the team, and just making himself out to be basically prime Ramos, when realistically, it's just not that way, is it? And he's not getting into the first team. So we'll get into Maguire's quotes, and he actually could be leaving in January. Talks about more game time being wanted by Maguire and him not wanting to sit on the bench. But welcome everybody, it is Thursday morning. Get in the chat your opinions, get in the chat your thoughts, and yeah, have your say as per usual. Straight off the bat, we'll get a poll going in the chat. Ivan Toney for £60 million, would you want to do that, yes or no? I've seen a few comments before I went live. Some people are like, no, I absolutely do not want another troublemaker. I don't want somebody who's had issues before. I know it's not exactly disciplinary issues, but it's obviously he got banned for betting. So we don't want somebody who's going to be anything off the pitch distracting them. I've seen some people say Ivan Toney's a really good player and it'd be great to have him at Manchester United. So I'd be interested to know your guys' thoughts on this one. But this is the quote, and it's coming from the Mirror. And the Mirror seems to always have had a good relationship with Eric Ten Hag, and a lot of things that they've brought out surrounding transfers in the summer actually led to very good stories. And just in and around the team, they just do seem to always have some good sources around there since Ten Hag has been manager. But the Mirror Football understands that Arsenal are interested in signing Toney in January, with manager Mikel Arteta keen to bolster the Gunners' Premier League title bid. Chelsea and Tottenham are also interested in the England international, where Manchester United could also enter the race. Brentford want £60 million. So there you go. So Arsenal are keen to get Toney. Chelsea and Tottenham are also interested, while Man United could also enter the race, and Brentford want £60 million. Honestly, I think the £60 million for Toney in today's market is actually decent. He's Premier League proven striker that's going to come in and score goals. Forward players are usually the most expensive players on the pitch. I think 60 mil for Toney is actually all right, considering how good he is. I actually think it'd be a lot more than that if he didn't have the off-the-field issue stuff and he had been playing this season. Obviously, if someone buys him in January, he wouldn't have been playing for half the season. So that's going to knock some money off the price tag a little bit. Honestly, as much as I would want Ivan Toney, if Arsenal go in from him in January, Arsenal get him. Like, let's be honest. If anyone's seen the Stephen Bartlett interview, he does basically say he says, you know, I really like Arsenal at the moment. Then he says he's always been a Liverpool fan, and then he talks loads of stuff. Stephen Bartlett was like, well, what about Manchester United? Because obviously Stephen Bartlett's a Man United fan. He says, yeah, wouldn't mind that either. He basically wants to go anywhere that's going to play Champions League football, or going to have the chance of playing Champions League football. It's going to pay him a bigger wage and basically has more potential than Brentford. So I don't think he's really going to be fussy about where he goes. But if Arsenal go in from in January, it's sad to say that Arsenal beat us to a transfer, but they would. The more established, they've got more chance of winning trophies, they've got more chance of winning titles, and they'll probably still be in the Champions League in January. I don't know if we could say that for ourselves. So it'd be really interesting to see what developed with that. But I think if Arsenal go for him, which they should, because the one thing that is holding Arsenal back, I feel like, is not having a number 9 that's going to score you 20 goals a season. I think you inject Ivan Toney into that team and it starts to really compete. I think he'll end up going to Arsenal. But you know, you add Manchester United's name into it, you're going to get more circulation, you're going to get it plastered over the news more, that's just how it works. But I also do think Man United would be looking at another striker. I mean, Højlund's great, but to lump all that pressure onto Højlund, you need somebody else to take a little bit of the pressure off there as well. You need 2 good strikers. So I would be all over that. But we had Rob Dawson on the show yesterday, if you didn't watch it. Really interesting watch, and you should go and watch it after the show. He was saying Man United don't even consider January a transfer window, and they don't really like to do any business there. And we've basically got no money. We couldn't speak to Fiorentina or Tottenham regarding Reguilon or Amrabat before we sold Dean Henderson for 20 million. The money is ridiculously tight. So do I think it'll happen? No. Would I want it to happen? Yes. It's two very different things. Just depends also if we sell players. Like, you know, if we sell Maguire, I assume we'd go and get a centre-back because that's priority. Sancho goes, then the money comes in, but I still don't see it. The United Stand vote in the chat. I am going to say yes on this one. 63% of you agree with me and going with yes. So that's quite a big bulk. I thought this one would be more 50-50, but look, Ivan Toney is a very, very good striker. Let me actually have a look how old he is as well. I want to see how old Ivan Toney is. Ivan Toney is 27, so he's literally into his prime right now as well, going into his prime. I think this is a really good years to kind of get a striker in from around 25 to 30 is where you want. He's 27. Obviously, it's great to get them young, and Højlund is going to be brilliant. You can see the potential. He's got raw pace, physicality. His hold-up play is already improving, but you can see he's got so much potential. He's got that striker's instinct. He's in and around the box, his anticipation, throws himself at everything. He has the right attitude, the right work rate. I could go on and on and on. Højlund is brilliant, but you do need somebody else. And Ivan Toney's got the Premier League experience. He's going to score goals. He's great on set pieces, penalties. I don't think I've ever seen him miss a penalty before. So you've got all of that coming with Ivan Toney, and the hunger as well to go on and win stuff. You know, his journey coming up through League One, obviously Newcastle, then getting demoted back down again, having to rebuild his career, moving on through the leagues, getting to Brentford, coming up through the Championship with Brentford, and like that sort of player is going to be hungry to win. So that's also a good kind of addition there. I think he's great. I honestly do. I think if he wasn't at Brentford and he was at a top 6 club, there'd be so much more talk around him for England as well. Obviously, Harry Kane, like no one's really displacing Harry Kane. But Ivan Toney, I really do think he's top quality. Top quality. Slow Sports News. I think we're underselling ourselves if you think Arsenal will get them first. I think Mark will leave in Jan and we will look to get a replacement. I think Mark will leave in Jan. We don't have anybody in our team called Mark. Maguire? Do you mean Maguire? And that really confused me. Mark Goldbridge isn't going anywhere in January. He isn't going anywhere in January, everyone, so don't get worried about that. Martial, does he mean? I'm not sure. I'd rather have Ollie Watkins, says Dale. Sorry, but I massively disagree. I think Ollie Watkins is a good player. He's not great. And I don't think he ever will be great. Ivan Toney is great. And I think at a top club, he's just an ice-cold finisher. He's lethal in front of goal. He's just got all the attributes. For me, Ollie Watkins is really good in Aston Villa side, but I just don't see him as a top 6 level striker. For me, oftentimes when I see him, he needs 3 or 4 chances to start hitting the target. And you just, at a top club, you want to be scoring the majority of your chances. That's what I've seen from Ollie Watkins, but I do think he's a good player. And Toney hasn't played for 7 months. Can't just splash £60 million on a player like that. It's risk and reward, isn't it? It's risk and reward. People think 60 million's a lot. Is 60 million a lot in today's market? We bought Anthony for 90 mil. You look around the Premier League and the money that players are going for. We bought Mount for 60 million. Ivan Toney's a striker that's going to score you goals after goals after goals. I mean, you look at the market, I think 60 million is quite fair. I think if you didn't have this ban with betting, they'd be asking for 80, 90 million when it comes to Ivan Toney. Let me have a look through the chats. Beth, if Dominic Calvert-Lewin is not that injury prone, I'd rather have Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Again. No. It's a simple no. You guys can have your opinion. I've argued with Ricky on this so much. I said I think Callum Wilson is a better striker than Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Ricky was arguing saying no, Dominic Calvert-Lewin's better. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is injury ridden, and again, he's not elite. He won't be elite. You can watch a player and say, I just know he won't be elite. He's good for Everton, but he's not going to cut it at a top club. With Ivan Toney, I watched him. I think you could cut it at a top club, and that's why so many teams are interested in him. I mean, Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal. Get in the chat who you think will end up getting in. But that is the stuff on Ivan Toney, and I can understand why Erik ten Hag would want to bolster his attack. I can understand why Erik ten Hag would want something else, because God forbid anything happens to Højlund, you're with Martial, who would probably get injured within about 2 games. He has that track record. He's got a bad history. He really has. It's like if you were going into, I don't know, say you were going to race in the F1. Lewis Hamilton has a car that has a track record of breaking down after breaking down, but on each day it's really good. Do you think he's going to risk it throughout the whole time? No, he's not. You need something that's reliable and is going to be top quality, and that's why you need a good depth of strikers. But let's get on to the leak stuff. I can see a lot of you guys in the chat saying that you want the leak stuff to come out. So let's get talking on it. Let's get talking on where these leaks are coming from. And if you've been living inside a cardboard box and you weren't on social media yesterday, and you know what, credit to you if you weren't on social media, because sometimes it can be a pretty negative place to be. Sometimes it can be great as well. But yesterday morning, Alan Brazil, International Week, maybe a little bit of a slow week, Alan Brazil came out and basically said he knows on good authority that the players are not having Ten Hag. They don't like the way he treated Ronaldo. They love Sancho and say he trains really hard, and they're just not having Erik ten Hag as manager. That is what Alan Brazil came out and said. He had his top tier sauces. He had ketchup, he had mayo, they were there. But no, I'm only joking. It's a weird thing to make up, and that's why I don't think he did make it up. I do generally think somebody told him that. I just don't think it's accurate. And I quote tweeted it yesterday, because it was like, I know this person who knows this person. I said, you know when you say my uncle's dad's friend's mum's sister's friend's aunt's cat, like it's one of them, isn't it, where it's someone tells you a story and you think, how many times has this been filtered down the line? But he did come out and say that, and it had people questioning, where is this coming from? Why is there more leaks coming out of Manchester United? So Sam from the United Stand, if you don't know Sam on Twitter, he often does different sorts of news, transfer-related stuff, team news-related stuff, works with the United Stand, did some digging, and actually got a really good scoop for us. So the Alan Brazil stuff yesterday morning, it's been tracked back, and it's no coincidence that it got to Alan in the first place. So the Alan Brazil stuff yesterday morning, it's been tracked back, and it's no coincidence that it got to Alan in the first place. There's a club scout who's been at the club for nearly 10 years who may not be here for much longer. The United Stand understands that Ten Hag and Fletcher are not keen on having anybody in and around the first team who leaks, and therefore this has not gone down well with them. We are also told that this scout is not close to the first team and that the scouting department is undergoing minor restructuring, so said leak may think that his job is on the line and wants to go out by causing some trouble. So that is the news that we've got as well on that. Also, if you trace back this leak, obviously not going to name him, on social media, the only stuff he's really liked and tweeted about is stuff to do with Alan Brazil. So it does make sense, and we actually have got this on really good authority. So Alan Brazil said it was to do with a player. I don't necessarily think that's true, and this is where Chinese whispers go down the line. What really we think has happened is that a scout that's been working for Manchester United for a very long time with Man United wants to go out with a bang, think he's going to lose his job potentially, and has decided to leak stuff to the press against Erik ten Hag and against the players. A player we don't think has leaked this to Alan Brazil, and the news that we're getting is inside the dressing room. The players are behind Erik ten Hag and appreciate the manager, and the dressing room is together. So have your say on that. I mean, I don't think it took a genius to work out that this news that was coming out around Alan Brazil yesterday wasn't exactly tier one. Like, it wasn't exactly tier one. I don't think anybody really delved into it and fed into it. I kind of saw it as a little bit of a nothing story and someone trying to make trouble for Man United. He gets the clicks, he gets the headlines. I'm not saying Alan Brazil was trying to make trouble, I'm saying whoever told him was. It gets the clicks, it gets the headlines. I understand it. And it's one of them where maybe you're going out of a job and you're a little bit bitter and potentially maybe you're not working well with the new manager that's in. We don't know. You are thinking, what can I do? What can I do to kind of, you know, get back at the club a little bit? And this might be it from the scout that did decide to leak this. But that is the news that we've got coming through to you guys. Shane P3294 says, I'd rather recall Mark Goldbridge over Toney. Or do you mean Mason Greenwood? I just saw MG. That's really unfortunate that Mark's actually got them initials, isn't it? But Do you mean Mason Greenwood? I'm assuming you're going to go, you mean Mason Greenwood, but if you are, entitled to your opinion, but absolutely not. Absolutely not. I do not want the whole storm that comes with Greenwood. I don't want him playing for the club. I just don't want that to happen. And we all know, like, it was very well sourced that there was a lot of staff members reconsidering their job in Manchester United, planning to go on strike because of the handling of the Mason Greenwood situation by Richard Arnold and Manchester United. A lot of people felt uncomfortable in the club. It was causing a toxic atmosphere. I don't think it's the right example to set to the fans. I just personally just don't at all. And Ivan Toney, yes, obviously he's been in trouble with betting, but, you know, betting's not... It's not exactly, you know, the end of the world. It's not exactly like he's harming anybody. Yes, he shouldn't have done it. And you do ask yourself questions, is this going to happen again? But you'd like to think that Ivan Toney's learnt his lesson. He did say on Stephen Bartlett that he didn't realise what he was doing was wrong. I don't really buy into that. Of course, you realise that betting against your own team or any team when you're a football player, if you get found out, it's going to come under scrutiny. It's going to come under scrutiny. Kieran Trippier had it at Atletico Madrid. There has been some really good players that have had these issues before, but you would have thought that the amount of time he's been banned, he will have learnt from this and won't do it again. So, yeah, interesting stuff, but get your comments in as per usual. Co says, Toney is good, but he likes to bet. Not sure if this is the type of player United need. Especially since of all the off-the-field issues we have had to deal with, you wouldn't really want another one coming through. Would Man United take that risk? I mean, we've done it before with background checks and all of that stuff. People have managed to weave through the background checks that probably shouldn't have. Ivan Toney, I don't think it says anything bad really about his character. It's a mistake that he made, and people do make mistakes. Would you want to take that risk? For me, for £60 million and the quality that you're getting, and considering it's not as if we'd be relying on him because you have Haaland as well, I would take that risk, I'm going to be honest. Let's have a look what you guys are saying. Slow Sports News. Sorry, Beth, I meant Martial. Speech text sucks. Well, there was some news coming out that Martial was looking to leave Manchester United if he continues being a bit part player, as he doesn't want to spend the last years of his career on the bench. I thought that was very rich. I like Martial a lot. I think he's a good player. I think he's a good rotation player to have. And if he was fit enough, a starter. But you can't say you're annoyed about being a bit part player when every time we've tried to rely on you, you're out injured and it costs us. Last season, you were meant to be our leading man after Ronaldo went, and he was injured for the majority of the season. We had nobody. We had to go in and buy Wout Weghorst. You cannot sit there and say, well, I'm gutted, you know, I'm on the bench when I'm injured every week. Unfortunately, I know it's unfortunate when a player is injury prone, but that's very, very rich to expect that if that is true. But I did see that in the news a little bit ago. 3am says, probably leaked the Ten Hag agent rumour last month. Well, that's the thing as well, everybody. That's the thing, going back to this leak that we actually had really good authority on, and Sam, who managed to get this story, props to him for doing it. But when we've had this story come out that the scout maybe he's wanting to go out with a bang and he's leaking this stuff to Alan Brazil, it makes you think what else has been leaked. And there was news coming out that Erik ten Hag is quite paranoid about leaks in and around the dressing room. There was talks about multiple teams being put out before Brentford to see who was the leakers. Man United want to crack down on these leaks, obviously. It's not good to have it coming out of the club, and it's not good for Erik ten Hag. But it makes you think, I mean, from what we're told on our side, from journalists close to the club, and just the information we get close to the club, the managers are behind Ten Hag and respect Erik ten Hag, and the team is together. The opposite stuff we've had coming out of the club, it makes you think, is it people that are not directly in the first team, because it doesn't have to be players, it can be staff, but staff that have maybe been put on the back burner a little bit. The club is getting reconstructed, especially under Erik ten Hag. He's requested multiple different things, and the club have backed him on them when it comes to, you know, changing where the go before the match. One of the executive suites was turned into a suite for the players, when in terms of changing the home section to the away section, you know, the benches when you're at Old Trafford. Loads of things Man United has followed through. And, you know, it could be the same behind the scenes. Erik ten Hag could have said, well, I'm not really too keen on the scouting staff over the past 10 years. Maybe we should look at restructuring that. And the club have worked with Eric Ten Hag to think, you know what, yeah, we probably should restructure not the coaching. Why do I keep saying coaching? We probably should restructure this scouting network or whatever it is at the club, whatever department they are liaising with and discussing with. And people get unhappy because maybe they are losing power at the club, maybe they are losing authority, maybe they are potentially on the brink of losing their job or have their job at risk, or they just don't like Eric Ten Hag, or they don't like the way the club's being run, or something's annoyed them at work, and they thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and leak this story to the press. So the leaks that have been coming out, I know we have blamed the players a lot, and players do need to be looked at because the players have a history of leaking. For years on end, they've had a history of leaking. I know there's a lot of new players through the door, but not all of them have gone. But leaks also could be coming from staff that aren't happy, and I think that's something to be looked at. When leaks come out, don't believe everything you hear, because it's people doing stuff for their own agenda. And I think that's a really good lesson to learn with all this stuff. So at the end of the day, thank you, Alan Brazil, for putting that out there. Obviously got a lot of attention, and it led us to believe that basically the players are behind Ten Hag from what we've heard, and the leaks can come from multiple different sources, and a lot of the time it could just be somebody bitter who's trying to throw Eric Ten Hag under the bus a little bit and trying to get their own back a little bit. And this is what I kind of see this to be. Let's have a look if there's any other super chats coming through. Someone says, happy birthday, Beth. It is not my birthday, everyone, but is it someone's birthday in the chat? Someone's birthday in the chat. Make sure you hit a like button anyway on the video. I lost a super chat here, which I had, so I'm trying to find that. Have a look for it in a second. God, this chat is moving crazily. And David Harrington says, how can we get a striker cheaper than Toney for 60 mil? Højlund isn't close to Toney's level, and we paid 72 million. Wake up, chat. Good strikers, a few and far between. David Harrington, very, 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 very good chat there coming through from you, because it's so true. Højlund has got so much potential, but we paid £72 million for him. He's 20 years old with 9 goals in Serie A. And I'm so glad we did, because he looks like he's got brilliant potential. He looks like he's going to be great. But Ivan Toney is proven, and he's going to come in and score your goals. He's proved it at Brentford in that Brentford team. And look how much they've dropped off without him, the results that they've been getting this year. I think they've got 1 win so far this year, and look how well they were doing last year with Toney in the team. I mean, Toney's huge for them. And 60 million, he's great. He's 27. He's in his prime. He's going to come in straight away. He's not going to need to adapt. He's going to score goals. I think people are really lost on what this transfer market is, especially when it comes to attacking forward players. We paid 72 mil for Højlund. We paid 90 mil for Anthony. We paid 73 mil for Jadon Sancho. 60 million for Ivan Toney is a little bit of a steal, and there's no wonder that Tottenham, Chelsea and Arsenal are all sniffing around this. I mean, Chelsea, potentially, if he wants to go for money and stay in London, but realistically, I would be avoiding Chelsea at all costs if I was a player. Tottenham, doing very, very well. Obviously missing that out-and-out striker. I think that would be a great move if he went there. And Arsenal, I think, is probably the favourites to get him, because they're going to be looking to go and win the Premier League. But arguably, Spurs fans always say, well, we're top of the table as well. Obviously, Arsenal have a lot more progression behind them and more evidence that it's going to be sustained. But it'll be interesting to see what happens in January. I do think there will be a bidding war, and I do think there'll be multiple teams coming in for him. And I just don't think Man United will be able to win that race, considering the owners we have that are so negative towards January transfer windows and so negative surrounding this team. They'll only buy in January if they absolutely have to. The only way we'd go in for Toney in January, I feel like, is because, say, God forbid, Højlund got injured and Martial was injured and we had nobody. That's the only way I could see us going in for Toney. And even then, it wouldn't surprise me if we went back in for Weghorst on loan rather than paying the 60 million quid, because we don't have the money. So for me, I don't think it's going to happen, but I would absolutely love it to happen. Why is everybody saying happy birthday in the chat? It is not my birthday, everyone. It is not my birthday. My birthday is the 8th of June. If you want to write that in your calendars, I am a summer baby. I'm a Gemini, 8th of June. I am not born in October. It is not my birthday. I don't know where this is coming from. Thank you for all the well wishes, but it's not my birthday. If anyone wants to, get me a present, that'd be nice. That'd be brilliant. I can celebrate, maybe get... And do you know what? If it was my birthday in the studio, I would be having the balloons out. I'd have the birthday cake on the table. I'd be celebrating with you guys. Maybe that's a good idea for when it does eventually come round, but it's not my birthday, everyone. Brand Muffin says, a gambling problem is a red flag. Stay clear. I can understand why people would think that. Why are people saying that? How old do you all think I am as well, by the way? I feel like with this club, my wrinkles just keep getting more and more and more and more defined. The more morning shows I do, the more shows I do, the more Man United losses, I feel like the wrinkles just keep increasing. But yeah, just Kevin, my fault. Where did everyone get it from? Right, okay. Loads of different ages coming in. Chris Woods at Arsenal says, Beth, you missed my super chat. I knew I missed one, but they keep moving down so quickly because everybody's saying it is my birthday. If you can put it in again, you don't have to super chat, but if you can just put it in the chat, I will try and read it out because I can't quite find it. The chat's moving so quickly. Right. Somebody's just put in the chat that I look 45. Have a day off. Have a day off. Have a day off. I'll be invoicing Goldbridge for my Botox at the end of this stream. Beth, you share a birthday with Sir Jim. Sir Jim's birthday is also the 8th of June. No way. No way. How have I not found this already? No, I don't. Why are people making stuff up in the chat? Honestly, why are people making this stuff in the chat? Some people saying I look about 13. That would explain why I get ID'd for a Red Bull at Tesco. Let's be real. But anyway, off my age now. My actual age is 22, everybody. My actual age is 22. I'm 22 years old, if people are wondering. 23 in June. But anyway, let's move on to actual Manchester United stuff. I actually do share a birthday with Kanye West, by the way. I'm pretty sure. Don't know if that's a good thing. Don't think it is, to be honest. But anyway. Anyway, let's get on to the Maguire stuff. So, Harry Maguire. It's the international break. And what would the international break be without Maguire coming out and making himself out to be prime Nemanja Vidic, prime Rio Ferdinand? I am the best. My track record is this. I am amazing. And look, it's not as if what he said is awful. You know when you just read something, and I read it and I went, Harry, why? Why do you have to speak? It's like he can't help himself. It's like he can't help himself, the arrogance that is coming out. It's like, why are you trying to tell me how good you are? Prove how good you are on the pitch. And obviously, I know his game time's been limited. And to be fair to him, this is what I mean. If he would have just had a quiet international break, I feel like the stuff around Maguire's been quite positive recently. I've seen quite a few people saying they'd start him in the next game. I wouldn't be opposed to it. He's played pretty well against Palace in the Cup and Brentford. The two starts that he got, he's been good. I don't think anybody's questioned that. But some of the stuff he's come out and said, I'm like, Harry, like, why? Why are you saying it? But anyway, I can't speak, as Mark would say. But the quote was coming out. It was like a little bit of an interview that he kind of did. I'm just going to actually get them up here so I can go through them in sections. So, also a little bit of a hint that if he doesn't get more game time, he'd be looking to leave. So maybe with Erik ten Hag, it's like the long game. We know Erik ten Hag doesn't want Harry Maguire, he wants a new centre-back. Maybe the reason he just keeps benching him and barely playing him unless he has to is to hopefully eventually he'll get the message and move on. We were told that he wants to stay and fight for his place. But now he's saying he doesn't want to sit on the bench forever. But let's get into them. So, Harry Maguire, I mean, I'm not going to sit here all of my life and play once every month. And if it carries on, then I'm sure myself and the club will sit down and have a chat about things. Harry Maguire is 30 years old. He needs to get a shift on. If he does want to, fulfill his career and do the best by himself, he should have moved in the summer to West Ham. Like, let's be honest, everyone. West Ham are doing well. He could have been part of that. I think David Moyes offered him the captaincy. He should have moved on. I don't know why he went into this season thinking, he was going to be a first choice. Varane and Martinez have both suffered with major injuries, and even now he's not. Like, think about how in crisis our defence has been. Our defence has been in absolute tatters since the start of the season, and Maguire's still, in October, only had 2 starts. I think that shows where he's in the pecking order. And do you know what? I think I wouldn't be opposed to him starting next game, and I think he's played pretty well, but he should have moved on. That doesn't mean I want Maguire to stay for the foreseeable. Even though Maguire's had 2 decent games against Brentford and the second-string Palace team, that doesn't mean I want him to stay. I think, for example, play him in the derby at the end of October if you want a real test. I think we'll get absolutely cut through and obliterated, genuinely. So, yeah, he needed to move on. And he says, but honestly, at the moment, I'm fully focused on 2 games for England, 2 big games, and then I'm focused on going fighting and trying to get my place back at Manchester United and helping the team climb back up the league to where we should be. He said, I have nothing wrong with that. That's absolutely the spirit you should have. Nothing wrong with what you're saying there. That is completely what I'd expect a player to say. He says, I have a belief in my ability and what I have done in my career as every player should. Every player who is on the bench should believe they should be starting, otherwise they wouldn't be playing at a high level, and I am no different. Again, good attitude to have, and of course he wants to be starting games. No issues with that. He says, listen, it's been tough. I want to play games, I feel important to the club, and I want to feel important to the rest of the team. At the moment, I haven't been playing anywhere near as much as I'd like, and that's the bottom line of it. I've just got to make sure that I am ready to take the opportunities when they come along. And with this, he's acting like it's a surprise, and Maguire's been out of the team for a very long time. He's been out of the team for over a year as a first teamer. Maguire hasn't been a first choice for Erik ten Hag since the Brentford game when we got beat 4-1 last year. And how long ago was that? Last season. How long ago was that? And this isn't a surprise to Maguire. He had the captaincy taken off him as well as that. I'm not playing anywhere near as many of the games as he would like. Well, what did you expect? I'm pretty sure Ten Hag would have been clear with him going into the season. And he made it very clear with the actions he took by benching him and taking the captaincy off him. Maguire should have taken authority and initiative and moved in the summer. It's not as if he went into the season thinking he'd be playing every game. Like, let's be real. And he shouldn't have been going into that season thinking that. So if you are upset about the amount of games that you're playing, well, I have one thing to say. You should have left. Everybody knows you should have left. We'd be in a better position because we'd have a centre-back in that Erik ten Hag actually wants and would have played. For example, we wanted Todibo or a Pavard, and we would have been able to do that deal if Maguire would have left. Like, that was the case. That was the bottom line of it. Kim Min-jae even wanted at the start of the summer. Maguire didn't want to leave. They couldn't come to an agreement with Maguire. Rob Dawson literally told us that the club was willing to pay Maguire out, but he didn't want to go and didn't want to push it. So if you wanted more game time, you should have left. Hopefully this is kind of the start of him realising, you know what, maybe it's just not going to happen for me at Man United. And in January, finally, he can seek that move away and we can get a centre-back in that is up and coming, young, tenacious, has all the attributes that Erik ten Hag wants, and we can move forward that way. But woulda, coulda, should have, you should have left in the summer, realistically. And he says, it's not my decision whether I start the next game or not, so I'm unsure on that. In a couple of weeks, I'll go back and find out. And then this is where it gets juicy, and this is where the real Harry Maguire style comes out of the international break. So, he says, my record under this manager speaks for itself. I haven't started as many games as I'd like, but my win percentage when I've played is ridiculously high. Do you know what? As of late, he's actually played pretty well. But let's track back the teams he's played against, really. Because from my knowledge, Maguire's played in the Carabao Cup games against the likes of the Readings and the Charltons. He played in the Carabao Cup against Crystal Palace, second string team, that didn't put any firepower together, really. You played against Brentford, who, fair enough, decent Premier League team, but again, one league win this season. They haven't been great. Didn't really see much pressure come onto him. And I've just not seen him play any game of much quality, to be honest with you. Obviously, that's not his fault. He's not been picked for them games, but there's a reason why he's not been picked for them games. And the only time I really did see him play against a team of really good quality, Sevilla, in the Champions League, he was awful and let us down. So I don't want to come in on too harsh on Maguire, but to come out and say, my record speaks for itself, my win percentage is ridiculously high. Well, yeah, I think if you put any defender in Manchester United against the likes of the Bournemouths, no disrespect to this team, but the Bournemouths, the struggling Brentfords, the second string Crystal Palace, you're going to have a better record than a Premier League centre-back that's playing against the Tottenhams, the Arsenals, the Cities. Like, that's just where we're at. And Erik ten Hag obviously doesn't trust you to play them big games, and that is an issue. But if Maguire continues playing the way he did play against that Palace team and the way he played against Bournemouth, against better opposition, of course he can play in this team and fight for his place. But I've not seen that over the course of the last 2 years, however, for a very long time about Maguire, and Erik ten Hag clearly doesn't fancy him, or else he'd be playing him more. Like, Lindelof is way ahead of him in the pecking order. Luke Shaw as a centre-back is above him in the pecking order. Johnny Evans, I think, potentially is above him in the pecking order. That shows his position. So to come out and say, well, my record's ridiculously high, it speaks for itself, I think it's just a little bit rich, considering the teams you have played against, really. I think, for me, just get your head down and continue working hard. And Maguire says, and of course there's times when I can do more and times when I can improve to help the team, but I'm wanting to help the team. I'm wanting to help the team get out of this position that we're in at the moment, and hopefully we can do that in the coming weeks. Again, I like the attitude, but if you want to help the team, Harry, leave so we can get a centre-back in that Ten Hag will actually play. Like, we can tell Erik ten Hag only plays him out of desperation. If Maguire leaves, it would help the team because we'd get in the likes of a Todibo, somebody like that, someone that Ten Hag's been scouting and wanting, and Antonio Silva, who's got a massive future ahead of him, and we can kind of work for the future. So that's what I would do if Erik ten Hag wants to help the team. Sorry, if Maguire wants to help the team, leave, and then we can get somebody in who Ten Hag actually wants to play. Let's have a look at what you guys are saying in the chat. 75% win ratio, 29 wins from 46. Don't know how true that stat is, but thank you for putting it in the chat. Sing Game says we came second and third with Maguire. Without him, we turned into the worst United side in history, with the worst start to a season in Premier League history. Sin Games, I'm not even going to go into detail on that. I'm just not going to even go into detail because it's just ridiculous. Maguire wasn't the reason that we came second and third. Obviously, he was part of that team, and that team did realistically quite well considering the players it had. But if you played Maguire in this team every week last season, I don't think we would have got Champions League football. I don't think we would have. This season, you couldn't have done any worse. So that's why I'm not opposed to playing him. But yeah, for me, that's not a stat that you can break on. This is why Maguire should be playing. Jay Fader says, speaks for himself when you come in for the last 5 minutes to win, to hold on to a winning position. Well, this is what I mean as well. That's something I missed out as well. Harry Maguire has come on in a lot of games in the last 5-10 minutes. Does that count as a winning game for you? Surely not. Brad Muffin, months ago, I said McTominay should play as a 9. Nobody listened. Do you think he'll get a chance there now? I'll talk about that in a second. And Duncania says, what's the point in splashing out on another striker when we don't create for them? Our wide is still a shambles because everybody wants to shoot. I mean, interesting point. We do need our wide players to step up, but there's no doubts we need another striker. Martial just isn't reliant, and Højlund is only young, and he'll probably will have dips in form, and there's a lot of focus on him. Great player, but we need somebody else to take the burden as well. And Steve says, you don't need 60 mil, 5-year deal with 15 mil a year, assume we end up at 75. Really depends how tight we are. Owners can chuck in 15 mil a season, I think. Not certain. Well, interesting chat there. It depends how you'd want to structure the deal, but I do think maybe the likes of Arsenal, Chelsea, Spurs will probably have a better structured deal than us. Let me have a look at this one. McTominay, could he play as a 9 in the future? Not now, but I think he's a good player to bring off the bench to just, go and get us a goal. When it's kind of everyone backs against the wall, let's throw everything but the kitchen sink kind of vibes. That's where I think McTominay can thrive. Realistically, I think his actual best position is a box-to-box midfielder on the attack. The problem is he doesn't have the passing range. But he's got a good strike on him, he's tall, he's physical. I think whatever coach turned him in from a striker into a midfielder has blood on their hands. I think if he would always trained as a striker throughout the youth, maybe he could have been a good striker. But now I think it's too far gone in his career to turn it round. But yeah, McTominay, he's got some good attributes, but for me, just nowhere near a starter. And I don't think will ever be a striker, if I'm going to be honest, especially at the top level. Bench player, as Bruno says. McTominay used to be a striker. He does well for Scotland further up front. I'd try him against teams who have deadbolt weaknesses. Again, I think he's a good squad player to bring off the bench. Not a star. He's a good squad player to go and rough up the defence and get in there. If you get a chance, take it, because he has got a very good shot on him, to be fair to him. Under this manager, people absolutely dying laughing at that. It's crazy. Under a manager who's made it abundantly clear that he doesn't want you. Like, I feel bad saying it, but it's just true, isn't it? It's just true, and it's absolutely crazy. Like, bring me on for the last 5 minutes against Bournemouth, and I'd probably see out the win. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't really be bigging stuff like that up, and for me, that just shows where the standards are within himself. The fact he's coming out and saying my win record is ridiculously high, you know, my record's great, I'm really happy with my performances over the past 15, 20 games. Where are your own standards? Where are your own standards? Do you know what I mean? That's what we need for the likes of Manchester United. You'd never catch Varane or Martinez coming out after the time they've had that Maguire's had and saying stuff like that. You just wouldn't. But each to their own. And again, it's just something that I think just annoys the fans, because we know you've not been good enough. You know you've not been good enough. Don't come out and tell us you have been. But, like I said, we haven't got many defenders fit at the moment. I wouldn't be opposed to him starting the next game. Let's see what you've got. Start against City. Let's see what we've got. Let's see what you've got. And then come back and talk to me. If you put in a brilliant performance against Man City, you know, we managed to get the win, and you've played really, really well, and you keep that going, then you can come out to me in international breaks and see, I told you so. My win record's great. I'm a top defender. But let's be honest, that's not going to happen, because Ten Hag won't have the trust in Maguire to play him unless he has to. And even then, we've seen his track record against teams that show a little bit of bite, and it's not good. It's really not good. Anyway, that's the news on Maguire there coming through. Had a little bit coming from Amrabat as well, coming in. A little bit on, I think it was from actually Manchester United. He says, maybe with a bit more luck, we'd have won the games that we didn't. So I have a lot of confidence. I think we work very hard every day. We've just started. We still have a very long season, a long way to go. I think we've played good games, had a lot of positive, good things. I think in life, but also football, it never goes always good or always top. You always have to have a moment and maybe have a little bit of a difficult situation, and I think now that is that moment for us. Nobody will give it to you. You have to work for it, but we work very hard and we believe it will be fine, it will be good. Well, that's positivity coming out of the club, but again, words. Love Amrabat, but words. I know he's going to say this and needs to see it on the pitch, and to be fair, I think Amrabat is actually doing quite well. I know he's had a little bit of stick from United fans for maybe keeping it a little bit too simple. That's what I want. I'm not judging him playing it fullback, by the way, because he's not a fullback. As a midfielder, taking control of the game, keeping it simple, keeping possession, I think he's done quite well. But what I would like in international breaks is players to keep quiet, get their head down, come back, play really well, and show me something on the pitch. I don't need to be told my win record's unbelievable. If it was, you know, Ten Hag would be playing you. I don't need to be told we're going to be good, we're going to be back. I need to see it on the pitch. That's what I need to see, especially considering how poor we've been at the moment. Someone said Beth's ruthless. I feel like I've gone a lot more ruthless over like the past few months. I mean, my temper's just gone from like here to here with this club. So, I mean, that's what the results have drove me to it. The results have drove me to it. Mark Pereira says, God would love one-to-one interview with Goldbridge and Ricky. Why does that not exist? I will get onto it. We did have a show with me, Ricky and Goldbridge in the studio a month back when Goldbridge came up. On Goldbridge's next show, you need to tell him, get to the studio to do some more shows with us, because I think everyone would want to see that. Brand Muffin says, Maguire sounds delusional. Sample size is small. Exactly. Anybody else with the chats coming in now? The chat's been really dodgy this morning, so if I've missed any, I'm sorry. It just keeps buffering back and forth. And Eddie Johnson says Maguire is our best defender and has to start. Is that sarcasm? Is that sarcasm? I'm not sure. I mean, it's with Maguire as well, people are saying he's been playing well. Is that not just because we've been playing so poorly and all of our good players have been massively underperforming? That's what I always think about. But I wouldn't be surprised if he started the next game. I would not be surprised one bit. But that's the show this morning, guys. Really interesting to see the leak stuff come in. That was a really good scoop from the United Stand. And don't believe everything you hear online is what I would say. And he's really taught me a lesson to not believe everything you hear online. I didn't believe the Alan Brazil stuff anyway. I'm pretty sure you have to be very naive to believe that. But not everything comes from the players. You can't just blame everything on the players. Some stuff will come out from players that are unhappy, and that is unforgivable. But a lot of stuff will come out from members of the coaching staff, members of the scouting department, members of staff basically that are on the fringe, unhappy and are unhappy behind the scenes. So some stuff can be twisted, and just make sure you just don't believe everything. I think we've got to stick behind this manager with Maguire quotes, take him on the chin, laugh at them. That's what I did. Some of the stuff, and obviously I don't agree with the abuse he's been getting, and that is really, really sad. Like, the fact that the amount of abuse he has got is ridiculous. And I'm talking abuse, not criticism, because criticism, it's absolutely A-OK, and criticism is absolutely fine. You're a professional footballer. But Maguire, the abuse he's got is out of control. It really is. But he doesn't help himself by coming out and just saying silly statements that nobody can get behind. Because has anyone seen the David Beckham documentary? I have a pair of eyes, in the words of Alex Ferguson. I don't need to see a result. I don't need to see a stat. I don't need to see a video. I have a pair of eyes, and we know that Maguire's not good enough. So the best thing he can do is leave the club to get more game time, and hopefully that does happen, because we could end up getting a Todibo and Antonio Silva, and that would be absolutely brilliant. Because did anyone see Todibo the other night? Todibo the other night, he had the most passes ever in a game, and his pass completion was just ridiculous. There's no wonder Erik ten Hag's looking at him. He's on the ball work as a centre-back is brilliant. He just looks really good as a young centre-back coming up through the ranks with potential. So I think he's one to watch. Obviously, Antonio Silva, he's going to have a massive career ahead of him. So young, would be great to try and get him through the door. So Maguire needs to make way for better players to come in my opinion. And I think slowly, maybe some things you can get out of that quote is he's maybe slowly coming round to that. But he still has to gas himself up, big himself up by letting us know his win percentage against the likes of second-string Palace team, Bournemouth, Brentford, Reading, Charlton, and them sort of teams. But that's where we're at on that one. I saw as well on CBS, Kate Abdo was speaking. Harry Maguire was kind of saying that the criticism David Beckham got and that inspired him. The differences between David Beckham and Maguire is, one, David Beckham's abuse was worse. It was massively worse. And two, David Beckham followed it up the year after with the treble. He was super talented. On the pitch, he was just incredible. He had the star quality. He had that star quality. He had the likability, and that's just the way it is in football. So I just think to compare them is just a ridiculous comparison. It's like comparing a cat and a dog. Like, they're just two different species. Actually, let's get even further from that. It's like comparing a parrot with your pet cat. Like, they're so different. So I think that was a weird comparison to make as well. But obviously it is inspiring, the abuse that David Beckham went through. And again, abuse is never tolerated. And it was actually a really nice touch that David Beckham did reach out to Harry Maguire after the Scotland booing. But yeah, a little bit on that. But thank you. Again, Beckham unfortunately didn't have social media hate. Social media is why everything looks a lot worse in this day and age. Back in the day, it was the papers. And obviously, it was ridiculous. The abuse Beckham got was insane. It was worse than the abuse Maguire got, but you just didn't see it as much because social media wasn't around. And that's unfortunately the negative sides of social media. There can be positives as well, but the trolling is a little bit out of control, and I would never wish that on anybody, but everyone. That is the show this morning. Thank you everyone for tuning in, getting your say in the chat. Let me know in the comments why you would want Ivan Toney, why you wouldn't. What is your take on that? Is it the gambling? Is it the fact you don't think he's worth 60 mil? Do you think it's just because another team is more likely to get there before us? Let me know your thoughts on Ivan Toney in the chat, and I'll be looking through the comments. Let me know if you think Maguire should stay. Should he be starting games? What centre-back would you go for if you could get another centre-back in? Todibo, Inacio, Tapsoba, Antonio Silva. Let me know your preferred pick. I am really liking the look of Todibo, but I think Antonio Silva is just insane when it comes to the potential and the talent. Let me know in the chat what you guys are thinking. And also, yeah, just let me know what you're thinking through the international break, the leaks, everything that we've spoke about today. Have a lovely rest of your day. Really enjoy this Thursday. We've got the call-in show later. So if you want to get involved in the call-in show, nearly forgot, make sure you join our Discord, get involved and call up. I really want to hear strong, diverse opinions today on the call-in show. It's your show, your chance to have your say. So make sure you tune into that. Also, lastly, got a last super chat from Mark saying Maguire is our 5th choice centre-back. Why is he a topic? It's like discussing a 3rd-string goalkeeper. Exactly. But he doesn't speak like his fifth choice, unfortunately. And, you know, coming out with quotes like that, you know you're going to get a little bit of backlash off it. You know you're going to get a bit of attention off it. So that's the way it is. But thank you, everyone. Any plans for my birthday today? For my pretend birthday, it's not actually my birthday. I don't know where that came from. You know, I'm going to be calling up Mark, who is obviously not here today. He's I don't know what he's doing. And I'm going to be saying, look, where's my birthday present? I've had nothing through the post. Where is it? We'll see. I'll update you. I'll update you on what happens. But everyone, tune into the call-in show later. Have a lovely rest of your day. Hit a like on the video on your way out, and I will see you later.